What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the Alto again, and this time we are here with Garrett of Maul. It is so great to be able to talk with you. Thanks for coming on the show today, man.
Hey, what's up, man? Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man.
Having
It's an honor to have you here, man. It's so great to be able to talk with you because In the Jaws of Bereavement is the new album. Absolutely kick-ass. Was the vision behind the making of this album was just to create sort of like a continuation or just the direct follow-up to Severic Punishment, or was this meant to be like new uncharted territory for Maul in a way?
I think Uncharted. I think Uncharted territory. A little bit of culmination of everything we've been doing, growing as a band. We're definitely not trying to like repeat anything, but you know, a lot of the inspirations and shit are still there. Even with the last EP that we did, the first thing we did with 20 Bucks Spin, Desecration Enchantment, which came out in November. Those songs aren't on the album, you know, nothing even sounds like those. We're kind of wild like that, you know. We're just kind of trying to make every song sound unique, sound its own, put its own energy into it. So the album is definitely the total growth of us as a unit, especially with the same core members. A few years later, a few hundred days of touring under the belt, you know, that different connection. So yeah, the album's definitely that in continuation, but nothing like material wise really the same. Or
I wanted to ask if that Desecration EP was meant to be kind of like the trailer or sort of like the preview or even the bridge between the last album and now, or if that was sort of like its own one-off thing in a way.
I think it's definitely a bridge. Just in the fact that before we ever did a record deal with like Redefining Darkness and before 20 Bucks Spin, like we were always about like putting out consistent like EPs, splits, demos, just kind of like putting out like hot shit to continuing the touring cycle. So it was definitely a bridge to like buy us time to write the album. But not necessarily material wise. Like we kind of wanted that to be its own release, its own identity, you know, like that 4 song thing is like 18 minutes long. So, yeah, we wanted that to be able to stand by itself. And then, hey, we're also writing more new shit for the next album. So,
and again, it's sort of like similar to what you kind of in a way mentioned it already, but I feel like when you release a new album, or even when you just start a band in general, there is the idea, do you want to be an experimental band? Do you want to bring in many different elements from many different places? Or do you want to have sort of like a consistent formula that you could stick with? I just interviewed a metalcore band, 156 Silence, before, and you know, they make songs that range from deathcore to now having, you know, songs that sound like Dance Gavin Dance or something like that. But then there's you guys, where I feel like people who did love, you know, Seraphic Punishment will appreciate In the Jaws of Bereavement as well. So is there sort of like a fine line that you have to walk between experimentation and consistency?
I think so. I think that's like with any band that's like, you know, paying attention to like how they're presented, or you know what I mean, like the things. But like it's still everything that we've experimented with, we know is Maul. And I say this in a lot of things, but like we write pretty much every single song all together during practice, during rehearsals. Whether it's a riff idea out of like improv jam, and then like the next week somebody might have wrote a little bit more, and we let it see where it goes. Everyone's pitching in ideas. So I would say just like at the core, like whatever direction we end up going, it's going through 5-6 heads of like inspiration or direction. So it's definitely still Maul to us. Whether we go more instrumental, more like doom, you know, like on the EP, or a lot more hardcore, a lot more of that energy, like the title track of In the Jaws. Like every song is just a little bit different, but we know like the attitude and like what we're writing is still Maul. So,
and also your titles, I think, are what really sort of captures my eye just as much as your music captures my ear, because you have a song like Midwest Death, which I guess is really just representing of, yo, we're from the Midwest, we're from North Dakota, motherfucker, kind of like having that sort of attitude, the same way that Pantera was like, we're from Texas, motherfuckers. But then with a track like Spontaneous Stigmata, that's very artistic. That sounds like it could be a Maul song, but it also sounds like it could be a Dream Theater or a Tool song. So do you find that maybe lyrical ideas or maybe a concept or lyrical inspiration could also maybe guide Maul with regards to how the music is going to sound?
I think. Are you asking if there's a certain inspiration?
Yeah, like do lyrics ever determine the music itself?
No, I don't think so. There might be like moments where I have like a list of potential song ideas, or maybe like a line or two, or just like some cool words that are strung together that I might make a song out of. But most of the songs that we write are coming after the bass, after the mood of the instrumental part has been taken care of, or during it, you know. I don't know if I have any direct inspirations as far as like how I title things or how I write lyrics. It's definitely just, you know, amalgamation of all the things I've been into. Apparently I have a knack for alliterations, even when I don't mean to. When we were putting together a recent tour set, I realized how much I use the fucking word, or the letter S. I title a lot of tracks with the letter S. You mentioned Spontaneous Stigmata.
Stuck, Stopped, and Smeared.
Stuck, Stopped, and Smeared. There's S's and alliterations. I have Seraphic Punishment. I've got the Sacred and the Profane.
Well, you know, that's fairly common. I mean, if you go down like my music library, the bands that begin with the letter S, I mean, that takes you, if you're scrolling through it like this, that'll take like 5 minutes just to get you through all the S's. Yeah. But what I wanted to mention, kind of from
good words with S.
I mean, you can't. I mean, say no more, right? And now I'm gonna, like, every time I say a word with the word S in it, now I'm just gonna be thinking about that in a way. So you kind of just like mind fucked me with that. But what I wanted to mention, it's gonna sound like a criticism, but it's not. But it almost seems like your titles were all named by different bands. Stuck, Stomped, and Smeared sounds like a Cannibal Corpse song. Spontaneous Stigmata, again, sounds like it could be from, or An Alluring Deceit. That's very thought-provoking. That could sound like it could come from Opeth or Catatonia or something like that. Then you got Midwest Stat, that looked like it was named by Dimebag himself. So that's why I always thought that, like, maybe I just completely looked at your song and your track list and completely overthought the living hell out of it. But I will say that your song titles, I think, are just as captivating as your songs.
Thank you for that. I don't know. That's cool as hell that you. That's cool that you. I'm still in my car. Not driving. I don't know if I've thought about like where the titles necessarily like come from like that, or like you said, like associating like Stuck, Stomped, and Smeared, like. But that the attitude of Stuck, Stomped, and Smeared was definitely influenced writing. Writing wise with Dying Fetus, like there's a lot of parts in there that are like Dying Fetus like esque, and we were kind of saying that in the song, like oh you know what I mean, like obviously not the crazy technical fast parts of it, but like I said, the attitude of it was like we want to make a song that wants to make motherfuckers kill each other.
Like, no, it definitely had the one shot, one kill sort of vibe behind it. So it definitely worked in its favor. Like the Dying Fetus makes too much sense now that you mentioned it.
Right. Spontaneous Stigmata, you know, I mean, I grew up a Deicide fan, so I feel like I also grew up a Jehovah's Witness till I was like 8. So there's always going to be a little bit of like blasphemy in my writing, at least for a couple songs, right?
Yeah. But do you feel like does lyrical inspiration come from many different sources in a way? Like do you take stuff that's more rooted in personal experiences versus, you know, stuff that it may be happening in the world around us to, you know, sources of literature or film or other artistic mediums?
It's definitely more personal reflection, personal output. was a bit of like, cathartic process with this band for sure. Like, I put a lot of, some of the songs are, like you mentioned in Alluring to Siege or in the Jaws of Bereavement, like some of those titles that I would like to think make people like think about what that actually means. You know what I mean? And those are exactly the emotions and the moods that I put into my lyrics. No, I don't know if there's any like necessary direct. Fuck, I lost my train of thought.
That's always good. That's when I know I asked the right questions.
Yeah, no, yeah, great questions too. I think in the lyric writing is just a lot of like, there's obviously like some stories or some of this personal thing. Stuck, stopped, and smeared isn't necessarily a real life scenario, but it's like taking out some anger on people who are self-appointed royalty type untouchable motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Oh, I could think of plenty of people that I could dedicate that song
absolutely,
to. So.
Absolutely. And it's a lot of the finger pointers and condemners that are usually the ones behind that type of shit. So, yeah, there was that. Like that was the inspiration for that, but written completely, fictional. It wasn't like about one person or my personal thing. It was just like that genuine disdain for it of bringing some violence out because it's fucking death metal. But I also have like there's a couple songs where I have I grew up on a reservation, so I have like a different kind of like indigenous direct upbringing of like how a Christian world sees indigenous people and like a different kind of like anger with that, I guess. So
Jehovah's Witness, and then what tribe, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm Ojibwe, Anishinaabe from White Earth Reservation, Minnesota. So
okay, so between the reservation, growing up in a reservation, the Jehovah's having raises a Jehovah's Witness, there's different spiritual aspects behind it. You have different historical aspects behind it, like. It almost seems like just your life alone is its own library.
Kind of fucking feels that way sometimes, yeah. Yeah, I mean, my mom to this day is still a Jehovah's Witness. We haven't really been in contact in a few years, but it's still, it's still like that. Like that's still just my life. Like my dad just went back to the res because my uncle's dying, so he's hanging out with his, his closest brother. Yeah, it's all this. Very real life stuff. Like I said, there's a sense of catharticism and just a thankfulness that I am able to channel and write some of this shit just to,
There is sort of like a thinking man's aspect behind Maul in a way. And I think what is fascinating is, look, I don't say this like I'm talking shit, but I've talked to thousands of musicians who are in death metal, and not to knock them, but a lot of them have had really fucking boring lives. They grew up in the typical American dream, picket fence, went to school for 12 years, formed a metal band, were a pissed off teenager, like it all. And I'm not like saying it like to be critical. It's just, it is what it is. They formed these death metal bands kind of like for the same reason, took inspiration from the same sources. I love that steering wheel filter right there. That is fucking cool. I'm sorry. No, you're fine. I'm excited to look back at the edit and see all the times the phone drops. I'm gonna make a drinking game out of this interview. But every time he says a word with the letter S, and every time the phone drops, you have to do a shot.
No, people are already drunk, dude.
I think they're already dead at this point. But like circling back to what I was saying, like. You have such a unique life, having different spiritual inspirations and different, settings and whatnot. That I think that really works in your favor. When your life in itself could be your source of inspiration, I think that's a real blessing. Whether your life was very hard growing up or very good.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm thankful that I can channel some of that confusion or disdain or whatever it is, grief, into writing because. Not that I want it to always reflect that way, but it's like where I, where people desire to be like heard or felt. Like I get to take that out in writing lyrics and performing, doing these vocals and shit. So, it's just one of those life and art hand in hand type things. I don't know.
Do you think also with a track like Midwest Midwest Death, do you feel that is that like a call to like almost North Dakota pride in a way? Like I'm curious to what the scene is out there as well. I've spoken to thousands of Midwestern bands, but I'll get a different answer if a band is from Ohio or if a band is from Colorado or if a band is from Texas, and now I'm curious to North Dakota.
So, and also North Dakota is just fucking so scarce. Like there's scenes, but they're very niche, very small. Fargo is pretty prevalent with like an art scene, with the music scene. But Midwest Death has been with us since we started. It's been on, I hire artists to do pieces, but like all the merch that we've done, so many of them have included Midwest Death. Like that's been our like slogan, that's been our alternate tag or whatever you want to call it. And that had to do with, at the time and growing up in the DIY scene in the Midwest, and my introduction to music on a live scale like that was the DIY hardcore punk scene. And of course a lot of it was Midwestern. There were some bands that were claiming like Midwest blood, and that was like the ethics of what the DIY hardcore like scene was and the community was, and like Midwest blood was like this thing that you were like touting. So that was very much the inspiration behind like, oh, like we are that, but we're also trying to be like death metal. So like I put Midwest Death and was like, let's fucking run with that. So LP2 brings the song where we finally do something called Midwest Death. So it's kind of like our anthem that we're preparing for it to be, because like there's a chant part, the Midwest Death, you know what I mean? There's some callbacks to old lyrics that I've written.
Oh, I love it when bands do that. I love it when bands like almost kind of like reference an earlier album, like a sequel in a movie references the first one. Yeah. I love it when a band does that.
Fuck yeah. So like I was having fun writing Midwest Death. Like out of all the songs, I had a lot of fun writing Midwest Death on the new album, where it wasn't like so necessarily personal, but it also had to do with like real life things. And like I said, a lot of the LP2 is like how we've always been growing and like what Maul is and how it started. So yeah, there's references to old songs that we did. Like there's I put a Morbid Angel reference in there where like I put where the slime goes to die in the song.
We're gonna get some copyright laws right here. No, I'm kidding.
I might be. We already got C&D by Modelo, so fuck it, dude.
What the fuck did you ever do to Modelo?
We released a beer with a microbrewery out of Minnesota called Disgruntled Brewing. And we did Moldello.
Oh, boo-hoo. Like, oh.
I know. So it was a Mexican lager, brewed with lime, brewed with salt, already dressed, perfect out the can. We had it in liquor stores in Minnesota, North Dakota, and a Modelo rep saw it, so it just did not like that.
They must be really bored if they're going after a fucking death metal band. I could see that. I could see them throwing like a shit fit about it if like Billie Eilish did it, but like, I mean,
right?
Like, what the fuck?
I have the email saved. I wanted to fucking frame it still, but yeah,
you should print out that email and sell that on shirts or put that on your vinyl.
Yeah. So like, yeah, a microbrewery from Minnesota and a fucking death metal band from North Dakota got C&D'd by a multi-billion-dollar fucking company. But yeah, I mean, the brewery got hit a lot worse than we did. Like, I commissioned the artists. We did all the label parodying, which I still I still print koozies because like fuck them. You can't be mad at me for a parody. But they were pissed about beer being available in stores. I'm pretty sure the brewery had to pay back profits. Like they had to pull it from the shelves. It was dumb. It was so dumb.
You know what? Your music is so brutal that even beer companies can't handle you guys. Just look at it that way.
Hey, it's a feather in the cap for an artist, right? To piss off fucking big money motherfuckers.
It's a blessing in disguise. It's a blessing in disguise. Now, you know what? Let that be the heavy metal version of the whole Bud Light controversy.
We'll see.
Yep. Which is fucking liquid yeast infection. But either way, before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today, as well as thank you for not only your amazing music, but for telling me your epic stories. You know, you do so many interviews. After a while, sometimes, you know, they just become for promotional purposes. And, you know, sometimes I was going into it going, okay, here we go, another interview. But this was very inspiring and very intriguing for me. And it's definitely going to make me listen to your music now with a different set of ears and a different heart. So I'm really grateful for what you were able to tell me.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Thank you for that. Yeah, appreciate that shit. And thank you for asking fucking cool questions, too.
Oh, anytime. It helps when you have cool music. That's what I'll say. But
hey, I'll take that.
Is there just anything else that you'd like to promote in terms of upcoming shows, tours, merch? What else could we be expecting for the future, if you are allowed to say, of course? Any new beers in the work as well?
No new beers yet. We were so right after that we joked with the brewery about releasing a Mauler High Life and just going for the double, dude.
Do it. Do it.
Hey, how many C&Ds can we fucking rack up?
Do it. You know, your label's gonna hate you, but do it.
Hey, I'll take it, dude. When does this come out? I guess I don't know.
Like a week or so.
Okay. So yeah, we have a full U.S. tour coming up in October. We are doing our first ever support tour for I Am from Texas. We're going out with Life Cycles, also from Texas. So we have a few days leading down to that tour, then a full 20 some days with them, and then a few days coming back up home. I think we're gone for it's like 28 shows, 31 days or some shit like that. I don't know what it is. Yeah, we're New York, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're playing the Meadows October 22nd.
Okay.
Do I say?
Okay,
yeah.
Well, I'll be there, and that's a great place for a show, too.
Hey, you should message us. I'll fucking put you on a list for sure on that.
Oh, I appreciate you.
Yeah. So, also, I love that I was just like, 22nd, I believe. Because I've booked every fucking tour we've done until this tour. So, yeah. The last 4 years of our work have been leading to other people doing my work now, I guess. No, but it's cool to finally do a support tour. It's a whole different platform. That's coming up. The album is coming out the week before that. We're gonna do an album release weekend run, 4 days, where we play the album front to back. We're bringing out fucking 3 of our best friends from the Midwest. That'll be a true Midwest death run. That'll get announced soon. Yeah, we're booking through tours through May right now. Trying to do some international shit in the summer. We're gonna figure that out. Shit's just getting a little bit bigger now. So we're gonna keep it running.
Hell yeah! Well, thank you so much. It really means a lot. Everybody, we are here with Maul. Be sure to pick up In the Jaws of Bereavement. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.
Okay, thanks for having us, man.